right here I have snippets from one of my friend's Texas government rubrics for her final, where the professor is giving a variety of reasons why students could end up earning a 0 overall for the final. Very ridiculous reasons. One of them is that the article must be published after a certain date, and if it's not, it will definitely be resulting in a 0. And another reason is using more than 2 quotes for the entire assignment, which is a free response assignment, essentially an essay assignment. And I also have an example from a TikTok where a girl wrote an entire 6-page paper for her philosophy class just to receive a 0 on it, just because she didn't interpret the text correctly. But it's a philosophy class. There are many different ways to interpret the text in a class of that sort. And she became very disheartened with this grade, and she was saying, I should have just used AI like everybody else, which is very, very sad. But the fact is, most students have dealt with zeros or grades of less than 50% at some point in their academic careers, and that a grade of less than 50 can be very, very, very hard to recover in some courses, especially those kinds of courses that have very unequally weighted grades or not a lot of grades going in the gradebook. And teachers can overuse zeros as a threat when assigning work, which is kind of hubris because they're so demanding in their requests from students. They're keeping them very boxed in, and they're not really allowing their students to be very creative or develop their ideas fully, which is not encouraging student productivity or success. And so for students who are noticing low success or just low class averages or maybe even dropout rates for their courses, students will actually more likely benefit if their assignment grades, so long as they turn them in, were lower than a 50%, because this would give an equal weight for number grades from 50 to 100% on a letter grade scale. So F would be 50 to 60, and then a D would be 60 to 70, a C is 70 to 80, and then a B is 80 to 90, and then an A, of course, is 90 to 100. It makes more sense, honestly, to me. And clearly a 50% is going to have less of a detrimental impact on grade averages. And I proved this. I did a very small pool of grades. I only did 4 assignments, and I kind of just did student 1 versus student 2, where I have 1 very heavily weighted exam grade and then 3 smaller grades. And for the exam grade, they got the same grade, and for 2 different assignments, they got the same grades. But for one of the lesser weighted grades, one student received a 50, and this averaged in with all of their other grades, came out to a 79, which is a C+, almost an 80, which is really pretty good. And the other student had a 0, averaged in with all of these good grades, and they would have ended the semester on a 69, which is a D+, which is, I believe, not passing in Lorena. So as you can see, there's just such a incredible difference, almost a 10-point difference between having a 50 and having a 0, and this is going to be far easier to recover. And I would say probably the most challenging part of doing this assignment, aside from just putting the entire presentation together, is doing all of the math for this, which I'm hoping I did the weight correctly. I had to do a lot of research on that, but it is all my own math that I did here. And I would say that probably one of my favorite parts of doing the assignment was just collecting all my research, because all I really did was have a conversation with a friend where she was kind of venting to me about a difficult professor, and then I was just kind of having flex time and just scrolling through TikTok, and I just happened upon something that I could actually really use for a research assignment. And I would say an opportunity for me in this was kind of talking to some of my teachers as I was doing this assignment and figuring out what their perception is on having nothing lower than a 50 in their courses.